Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Money Store. My name is AJ. I'm here with my good friend Julian, and I'm glad to talk to you. Julian, would you reintroduce yourself? He needs no introduction, but yeah, if you want to, do you want
Yeah,
to?
what's up, guys? It's been a minute. It's been a while, but my name is Julian Ramos. A lot of you guys know me already, and here we are. Um, Finally get to make this happen. We both
Yeah,
been busy.
I'm always glad to talk to you. Every time I talk to you, I feel yeah, in the back of my mind that to be continued. I feel that sentiment. And last time we spoke was, I guess, late last year. And in terms of news regarding La Luz del Mundo, there hasn't been too much, but there are things to report, week in and week out, if depending at what layer of people, well, at what layer people are interested in. Um, as we were just talking prior to start recording, I was talking about writing a book, or at least telling everyone that I just want to conceptualize like a magnet where I'm trying to get every article and every book and other material like that I get that I can to get my hands on, because
Yeah,
I'm just very interested in starting to read at that level and not just thinking about the church and being left to wonder with like just the news. There's actually a lot of material out there that if people want a bibliography or something, they can let me know, or if they have, especially if they have recommendations. But yeah, I was sharing that with you. Have you read any other material on La Luz del Mundo, or what do you think of this?
I really haven't. I mean, the thing that I did was, and it's already out there. Like, for example, if you go into like what is a cult, like your basic stuff, like try to and you can find this easily, like characteristics of a cult, or how do you
Yeah.
know if you're in a cult. And I know this guy, bro. He's like this, like I have him on my Instagram, but he said it. He said, how do you know if you're in a cult? And he said you don't, because you're in denial and so much is going on, right? But I thought that was very strong. He says you don't, because a lot of us don't want to admit to, like, you're in a cult. So that's what me, going back to your question.
Yeah.
I didn't really like, because I was scared to. A lot of us are not really wanting to know that, or find out anything that's bad, any book or article or anything. Like in the
Yeah.
past, how when someone got arrested, they were not letting nobody like get online or anything like that. So I think a lot of members, they, well, for one, they're not gonna want to like try to read anything. Like me, I didn't. I'm talking from my experience. So I started
Hmm.
doing like the most basic stuff. Well, like, how do you know if you're in a cult? And that was a big one. You don't. So then, how do you start to like really like put little, so we said this in the past: red flags, red flags, red flags. And when members start to like add up all those little red flags, which I know they have some questions. Everybody has questions, right, of what's been happening. So when they put all those together, I think that should spark something in them to like at least do some kind of research, and realize like
Yeah.
if what they believe in, or if what they're in, their organization, like, and not just Nason. I'm talking like just in general, how La Luz del Mundo moves, and how the way they operate. Like, to them, they think it's like a special, never to doubt of this guy, and but when they hear other people in like different churches or different groups or
Hmm.
religions, and they have all these things in common, they're gonna feel like, wow, like they're gonna feel like they're attached, not attached to them, but at least me, I felt like I knew these people. I feel like they were in my shoes too. So I
Yeah.
started like really connecting with just hearing other people's stories, and other people's, and not people with La Luz del Mundo, like people in different cults. So
Yeah.
little by little, that's what I did. Now, I haven't really read an article on La Luz del Mundo, because I feel like a lot of stuff that's out there, it's more based on like religion, how the doctrine is wrong and stuff like that. And a lot of members are not. I feel like that's not the heart to a lot of, like, especially the youth, to
Hmm.
get them to wake up, because I think a lot of the youth in La Luz del Mundo don't even like, you know, I mean, at least from what I've seen, they're not really into the doctrine. They're just going with the flow of what the parents say. It's more of an emotional attachment than any kind of like
Hmm.
uh any kind of Bible study. If you go and argue with them, oh, your church is wrong because of this, and the Bible says this, then you're never gonna win with them. So it's more of a like a deeper, I want to say a deeper
Hmm.
um perspective in them.
Yeah.
So
Let me say that I really appreciate what you're saying. Going back to some of the earlier where you began, well, to rephrase it, when people start questioning, when people are in LLDM, and then when they start questioning, sometimes the genre of stuff that they get into can be, for example, like you said, uh, the for real pathway that they end up going down, or like immediate, can be doctrine wise, or just reinterpretations of the Bible, or just changing their beliefs, but sort of within the branch of like Christianity, Protestantism, not Catholic. Maybe they go to some other group. So that's one path. Another path can be like me, for example, where I wasn't reading anything on cults yet. I was reading stuff on just atheism, or just non-belief, or just secularism and like governments over time. I started reading on that, and I was for sure questioning, the church, but I was questioning like just churches in general. And then some other people, for example, get taken out, like I did, to some extent, with just scandal and just being so caught up in that detail, and then the the doctrine stuff kind of comes second, or I feel like
yeah.
people should be able to talk on those different layers, but not everyone starts making their own like cake at starting at the same layer or with the same first steps. Um,
Oh yeah, for sure. I think I want to just say this. I think a lot of people that get out of the church still haven't figured out the whole religion part yet. They
yeah.
still don't have, like, when I got out, dude, I still didn't even know the answers to, like, so as far as the whole doctrine and the teachings, I still thought like, so like, what do I believe now then? Like, this is the truth, but yet all this is going on and it's true. So then it's not the truth. So this doctrine, this Bible teaching that they're giving us with the whole apostle and stuff. So all
Hmm.
that came to me second. You had to do more deeper. So once you come out and once you realize like they lied to us, now it's all this was like a movie. It wasn't real. But then you have to go back and now you have to like do the work and look up if the member still wants to believe in God, or still wants to have this religious beliefs, but now he needs to go back and restudy the whole Bible, or just redo his homework. And how did they end up lying to this person so bad with all these teachings in La Luz del Mundo? So a lot of that stuff comes second too. I want to say too, like most of us,
Hmm.
because it's if a member gets out just because of the teachings and not because of what Nason did, it's very, very like rare, I think, in La Luz del Mundo. I think
Hmm.
it has to be a like a high, very like person, or not high, just I don't know, just a person that wasn't really attached. And there's people like that in La Luz del Mundo. They're just lucky for them. They weren't easily fooled, or they didn't easily like just buy into it. They think outside the box. And obviously those kind of people immediately get like shunned, right? You can't talk to
Hmm.
this dude because they know he's not he's not with the crowd, right? Like everybody
Hmm.
goes.
And then that person, starts to feel, can feel the rift, and recognize how, okay, well, I'm just going to stop showing up to these places. I'm going to stop hanging out with certain people for a while. And then and then that can maybe snowball, and then and then there is actual distance between people, and there's just been too much time to go between them. But yeah, I see what you mean in terms of different layers of different pathways to get out of the church, coming along at different times. um the trial for sure has really done a lot. And up to the present day, the only thing going on so far is the a federal case that we still have no updates on. It's been almost a year. Give it like 2 more months, and then it'll be a year since we got the announcement, and then we haven't heard anything since then. So I wonder what that'll be. And then coming back to like the idea of the book that I have, I um what I'm interested in is not that religious stuff. I really don't look for it. I will, talk about the function of the Bible as like a tool, or some sort of sphere of thing of influence. But But in terms of like going, bit by bit about the mechanics of like this, I don't believe in, this is wrong because it disinterprets, whatever. I'm not interested in that. I will talk
Right.
about it because in the past, La Luz del Mundo has had schisms, and um, this isn't the first moment of an earthquake for the church. So it has had schisms in the past, and the um yeah, those people back then had a different array or a different menu of paths to get out, and sometimes that was religious stuff. Um, so yeah, I want to say that I've been trying to read all that stuff, and there are some good authors that you can read that don't get into that nitty gritty religious material, but there. One thing that you reminded me of was that did you ever hear or notice about so, supposedly being told that there were academics or researchers that were interested in the group in the growth of that particular church of La Luz del Mundo. I remember this when I was still in those final years that I was in the group. I remember hearing about that kind of material, but I bring that up because um, sometimes I come across essays or written work on La Luz del Mundo that doesn't. I'm not saying it all has to be combative, but it just doesn't. It seems a little more like accepting of what La Luz del Mundo just says, and it doesn't really. It may not, try to inject like some sort of criticism or like um, what could be called like more objective analysis.
Yeah.
Like for example, this is the last thing I'll say. There's a woman named Mary Puckett who has a PhD in religion, and she wrote a dissertation on La Luz del Mundo, and it came out in 2017. And in the work, she mostly talks to some churches in Florida, and then I think at one point goes to the Santa Cena to visit it in like 2015 or 16. So she captures and like talks about the church in a particular way, but there are moments, when you're reading it um, where she talks about how the church's ministers or whoever her contacts were trying to learn more and stuff would not be cooperative with certain questions she had, or or um or she would talk about how like it could seem cult like, and she talks in those directions a little bit, but she's not very confrontational. But I read that stuff and I'm not mad at it. Like I actually still appreciate it because it's like an interesting time capsule to read about the church before all the scandal happened, like 2 years after this thing was finished. Well, after
Right.
that dissertation was finished, and um, so I'm not mad at someone like that. Like they're like I really appreciate their work on the church. But then there's other people, that I've talked about on the channel, like Massimo Introvigne, who sort of writes laudatory, nice puff piece kind of material for the church to just so the church can just like give it to its own members to make them feel special. Yeah. Do you know what I mean by this?
Um, kind of. I mean, it's just many ways, like many angles to view it. I think in the end, people are gonna like, I don't know, like kind of just, uh, like how can I put this?
Did you ever
Like,
come across that kind of material when you were in the church, like people sharing news about like, oh, this person visited us at for this event, and
yeah,
you
I
know what I mean?
remember seeing, yeah, and I think they do that, because I think the people on top, like the leaders in La Luz del Mundo, right? They know what they're up to. So I think, have you seen how they make mistakes because of they've been so paranoid that they make mistakes because they're so paranoid. You know what I'm saying? The leaders, they've done mistakes um like on their letters. They just make so many mistakes because of how paranoid they are. And now those mistakes, they're biting them in their butt, right? But I think, yeah, I have seen that. I've seen, like, especially when politics go and visited them. But that, I think it was for other things, right? Or more darker, corrupt things. But I do remember. I don't remember the specific names, but I do remember them. Like saying stuff like that, and I think they would do that just to make the church look more normal.
Yeah.
especially like in the provincia, where I think in the provincia, to have a colony like of just members, I feel like they just feel like, at least the leaders, they feel like they're looked at like, how can I put this? Like, like, oh, those are like the luz, how would they say it? The la luz mundanos or whatever, in a way
Hmm.
of getting attacked. But it's just to look back now, dude, and see how there's a actually like a little town of just members in within a town itself, or within a
Hmm.
city. It's kind of weird, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? So I
Yeah.
think they would do that to make them look normal, or make them look like, in some way, not not like the people of the people, like the little town in the city that believe in this dude. You know what I'm saying? Does that make
Yeah.
sense or no?
Yeah. They're trying to like launder the reputation, or clean
Yeah,
things up, or
yeah.
try
In
to.
the like
Mhm.
like in the end, all those little things is just to benefit them, to help them in any way, and we know that. It's not to it's not like to, how can I say this, for any benefit of anyone else. It's just to make them look like either better or normal, or, oh, we know we're not normal church, something like that, or to make them more popular. You know what I'm saying? Like, they've always done
Mhm.
stuff like that. So that when it comes to those things, that's like what I think, 100%.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I like someone is Francisco Tenorio. He's someone who wrote something for
Oh yeah, yeah,
back in
I
like
remember.
2020, and that was sort of positive. And then later they switched positions on
Gotcha.
the church. And
From
I
Brazil,
bring
right?
him up because he's one of those. He's apparently someone who seems to have been courted by the church, and then had a relationship with them, and then broke ties because he didn't like where things were going. But uh yeah, on the other hand, like I'm saying, is there's other material that I've been reading that talks about the church, and can be can portray and narrate things in a way that church members wouldn't agree with, but in an odd way that it works. There are other works out there that there's a few that would have their receipts like lined up, and they can explain all that. And yeah, I'm interested too in the Hermosa Provincia, and how that doesn't even come in for like a bunch of decades after the church starts. And so and then
It's
and
just,
then and
yeah.
then it's the city Guadalajara that sort of grows more outwards, and then eventually brings in um the the province. And so um
If you think about it, I
yeah,
want to
I've
say
been
this.
thinking about that. Hmm.
It's it's just weird, right? Me living here, right, in California, and then to know that in California there was a town where it was just nothing but members, and like little community of these people that believe in this dude. Like, here in California, bro, that would look weird. That would look very weird. I don't care what anybody says. That I probably wouldn't even be allowed, because it's just very cool, kind of like that, the story of those people in, what was that? Remember, he had everybody in there, and they all like went to, like, they got like in a standoff with the police. It happened years ago.
Oh, that's in Waco, Texas, the Branch Davidians in
Yeah.
1993,
So
maybe.
yeah.
Back in the
So
90s. Yeah.
yeah, because stuff like that has happened here, dude. So imagine what's a provincia in California, like, bro, it would really make noise, but not good noise. It would really make them look like weird, right? I think in
Mhm.
any part of the U.S., remember how they wanted to do that city, La Luz del Mundo, and what was it? Was it
in
in
in El Salvador or in Georgia?
and yeah, here in the U.S., they
Yeah,
were
in
trying to do something
Georgia.
here, and what happened, bro? Like, all the people were like, "Nah, that's weird." They were just like, I think they were just saying, it came on the news too. They were like, they didn't want that, dude, because those are characteristics of like, of a cult. Like, it's just weird, dude. It's just very
Mhm.
weird.
There's this
Um,
like colonization aspect of the church
yeah.
that is going on, where it can, for sure it gets involved in like family circles, and maybe there's generational like involvement in the church. But yeah, there's a colonization aspect of the church where it like for example, starting off in a Mosa Provincia mattered a lot, because then they had this whole like insulated group that for sure starts to go to other places to be missionaries, but and then Guadalajara like grows into Hermosa Provincia, and then Provincia it still has a small ass church. The big white temple is not present like for the entire history of the church. It's only been around for like 20, 30 years. And so the church does things to itself to grow, obviously, but it also has that colonization aspect where like, for example, they don't have the 5 million members, and they can't talk more about that number apparently, but they can send people to like other countries. And yeah, there's a number of things I could say, but like, they can go off to a bunch of countries. These are a bunch of, mostly Latino, Mexican, et cetera, kinds of people that are being sent around the world for these purposes. And then,
Right.
churches are considered conquered. That number goes up, but it's artificial. And then, for forget sending missionaries, what you're talking about is like actual cities, and like in El Salvador, they're trying to do that one that is like close to the main airport of the country.
Is that one still like going on?
So one can look up images right now, but they have some developments. I don't when I was last reading, I guess a lot about it was like back in February, but yeah, in El Salvador they're trying to do the LLDM city. Nason was there like a few weeks before his arrest, and then they're trying to do the thing in Flowery Branch, Georgia. And there was already protests and like an accumulating community discontent with the church trying to do that because they were worried about traffic and a whole bunch of other shit. Um, and then when the arrest happened, and ever since then, all that stuff has helped their protest. But I'm pretty sure the church like still owns these major properties.
Um, yeah, I haven't followed up with whatever happened with the property. Um, um, I'm assuming it's not good. I mean, they have this whole having the members, help with in some way with the rest, the lawyers, and um, honestly, I don't even know if they're still. I'm assuming they're still asking for money for ofrendas, and all that stuff. Um,
Yeah.
who knows what kind of projects they have? When I say projects, I mean like they always saying they have all these. There's endless projects in Luz Del Mundo, but that's just the way of them always generating money. Um,
Hmm.
or one way. But yeah, I haven't looked. Have you looked into the one in Georgia? Do you know if it's still like?
Yeah.
Because last time I heard,
Flower Branch still has to be happening, but the church's like assets and maybe and like the number of members has certainly gone down. You know, for sure more than 0.1% people. Like I'm very sure that of what they claimed have gotten out of the church, but but then when it comes to Flower Branch, Georgia, now we would have to look up exactly, or maybe just talk to people that are there on the ground. But another weird purpose for these places is to have some community, have some like LLDM community, and then also make it be the site of Santa Cenas, of major gatherings, because that's sort of what happened with San Bernardino. Like that is one way of gathering people in one place. Right now, they're using convention centers for the Holy Suppers and other large gatherings, right? Like they'll use local convention centers in like the U.S. or
yeah.
or or sometimes like I remember a local Sunday school would be held at like the ranch of of the church leader. And um these places serve like multiple purposes, and they're going to be like ways of trying to generate money. Obviously, like the people at the very top are aware of like what those things like serve for.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like the ranch in over here in Anaheim where that dude got busted.
Right.
Um, I remember going over there, and it was always to, this was the whole thing behind that ranch. We would go and clean it, maintenance, not all the time. Every church had like their little their share of time, or their time and part of the year, I guess, to go. So we would go and we had to clean it and keep up with maintenance, help out. But I think a couple of times of the year, all the churches from the area would go, and they would have like massive like Foods, like every church had to have like a food stand, a food sale, and every, I think we've talked about this in your videos before. So everybody would go and they would just sell whatever they had to sell. Hold on, did somebody's not? You want to pause it, AJ?
Yeah, I'll pause it for sure.
Okay. Okay.
I'm gonna start. Okay. And yeah, as I was saying, the 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 Hermoso Provincia doesn't come along until like the 1950s, and then only in like recent years, decades, is La Luz del Mundo trying to make like these cities in other countries. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's something that's new, and it's probably like maybe that is the future of them, or maybe they recognize that it's not their future in surviving.
Yeah. Well, and if you think of like, let's just be honest here, right? If and all members have to agree, when we go to Provincia, when all the US would go and they would have the Santa Cenas there, all there was just food sales. It's just, money in exchange for a good or something from the church, either a book, a chalina, or something, a product. That's
Hmm.
all it was, dude. That's all it was, right? And they even told you, don't go out there, don't be buying food from them. You gotta stay here, buy the food here. Even the taxi drivers, because right, we know that they would have certain taxi guys that were working for them, driving the members around.
Yeah.
They would tell you, yeah, you get like a discount, but in reality, they just wanted to get that money for the church, right? So it's always been just a money generating, I want to say machine, and I think that's the real reason behind this, all these big cities, right? Remember they give the a topic, Nason, and it should be on YouTube, the autoconsumo,
Hmm.
meaning the autoconsumo. I don't know how you say that in English. Auto,
Self-consumption.
yeah, within the church, right? They don't want you out. Pretty much, they want you to reinvest back into the church. They don't want you out. And this, bro, even right here in Visalia, when we would go to the food sales, I think I told you this. The minister would tell us, "Hey, the church made food." Um, and this is where it hit me. It kind of hits me. Like he would say, I get that part. There's groups in church where after the Sunday school, every depending on whose turn it was, Group one made food that Sunday. So now the members after the service would go out and have the food, eat the
Hmm.
food. But here's where it hits, here's where it like changes, right? He would say, if you're not hungry and you don't like the food, go and just give your share of the money and then you can go eat wherever you want. But you have to leave the money. Bro, just like he would say it in those words, bro, just like that. Like not even like well, like no, come and be and and leave your money here and then you can go. If you don't like the food, don't eat it, just leave the money, buy at least a plate for you and every kid and of your family. If you have 5 kids, everybody gets a plate, drop all the money and then you can go and eat your food. And bro, it's just money, dude. Like, I mean, not even trying to attack. Members know this. I don't know if they did it in every church like that, but here in
Yeah,
Visalia,
I know what you mean.
they would do that, bro, straight up.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I want to pick up on that. I want to say that I also, yeah, I'm in Houston, so it's one of the major churches, and we have like a gigantic parking lot. And by a parking lot is just it's just a big parking lot, and so that thing would be utilized for the purposes of having, over time. I remember when it was rather occasional, but then it ended up being like monthly or even every. I don't want to say every 2 weeks for a long time, but frequently. Like it got more frequent as I was still there, and those sorts of events can be great for like community outside of the church, but then also it's a chance for people to just give free labor, or people to pay into the church in a different way, than just sitting around and getting the good word of the Lord. And you'll also get like food. But let me say, this is I say this like slyly, for to be funny, but I remember one time I went to a sermon. It was like in the middle of a weekday in the afternoon, and there was a local member who was doing this little sermon, and I think the topic that he was on was like taking care of your physical health and whatever else for God, and for like appreciating your body for God, stuff like that. He was kind of talking about like that sort of stuff. And then right
Right.
after, once church is wrapping up, he gives a little couple sentences on reminding people that they should go eat outside, and then it was kind of funny because me and someone else like talked about it later. We were like, "Damn, did you see the food that was being sold outside? It was just a bunch of fucking hot dogs and tortas and other like greasy like hardcore good food." But
Yeah.
when people are having like different turns, they do want to make the money and do their part, and so like the good stuff that's gonna fly. But it was funny. It was funny that there was a sermon like that, and that same guy later on was saying that that people should go eat the fucking tortas outside. But let me say one more thing. There was this one line that some other minister, he was an actual minister in our location. A
Yeah.
line he said that stuck with me because it was just interesting. He said, the food outside that the hermanos are making, it's made by saintly hands. Like these are like this the very fact that these people are making your food, makes it a little more holy than going to Burger King and getting something else. Or
Oh my God.
yeah,
That's
I've
wild.
heard stuff like that in those directions.
Yeah. Yeah. You have any other topics you want to talk about? You want to touch on?
Hmm.
I was thinking a lot on miracles, all these testimonies and miracles, and that's something that's always bugged me
Hmm.
because I feel like that's one of the strong tentacles that this church has to get the members to like get very emotionally attached,
Hmm.
right? All these testimonies, um, and yeah, I just feel like you know um there should be something out in YouTube or someone to like or something like that really touches and really does like a deeper inside look or research on this testimonies that these people have said over the years, bro.
Hmm.
And it's funny because it's always había un hermano or there was his brother or a sister or una hermana, and it's like, well, who, bro? Like when? Like who is his brother, right? And I don't know. I just feel like it's something that's always bugged me because I remember always being in church, and
Hmm.
when a certain testimony would come up, brothers, it really gets them going, dude. It gets them crying. Even me, bro, I would be like, very like, oh my God, like
Moved.
what? Like,
Hmm.
yeah, I remember like so and another thing is that I would always see within members, anything that happens to them, anything that could happen to them. Like, let's say, I think one time I heard this testimony of a brother or some member from church, right? And I
Yeah.
remember he he was just, I guess he was walking around, and then like I guess he was hungry or something, and like he found $1, bro, on the floor, something, money. And
Hmm.
then he went to the, on the Sunday service, and he was saying like, oh, it's because it's because of the Holy Apostle, like he knew my situation, so therefore, he made
Hmm.
this possible. He made this happen. I was able to find $1, so I'm here to sing a song to God for gratitude and blah blah blah. But my point is like just like this member, like so many members that just things happen to them, either a good thing or something like, they always have to, they have it already programmed that it's because of the apostle, So in some way, all these things that happen to them in their life now they're more attached to the church because now they think like
Hmm.
now that they're in this church, all these things that happen to them, it's because of the apostle. It's because he knows and he's looking over you. And it's just ridiculous because all these things happens to people all the time. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's a technique that this church, the Luz del Mundo, uses to kind of like, you know, um, get the members like attached or it's just one of the ways that they also brainwash members into
Hmm.
glorifying that soul and making his personality or making his image really like in them, in their head. Like it's kind of weird, but um I don't know
Yeah.
if what do you think about that?
Yeah, I know what you mean. That the phenomena of using like people using testimonies or testimonies that are given in church, by the person like giving the sermon, or maybe like by a person that goes up to sing at like the servicios at certain events, or
Yeah.
sometimes like those stories of how magical the church is and like actual miracles that have happened to members. it goes to it also gets passed down in like the home, like just at home, your parents can tell you about so and so, them hearing or seeing something themselves. And then the number one question is like, where's the video, and where is the, who's the eyewitness to these things. Members are also given that framework of trying to think about how to interpret certain miracles and not miss them, and like actually see them for what they are. And like you've said, I mean, everybody has reported, or at least had to engage with and think about the possibility of there being uh extra physical things happening, like in the world, and right before their eyes, right before their senses, as they are capable to understand it. And in La Luz del Mundo, whatever it is, the idea is that all roads, lead back to the leader. And
Yeah.
even if it's something separate from like anything related to the leader, like just for that, like for example, that guy being hungry and then finding money, um that could have nothing to do with the leader per se. The story could have been that, like, oh, the leader actually showed up as an angel and gave me $1 in my hand. um
Right.
but that could be a fact of the story, but that's not, but that still doesn't mean that it happens like on the back end, because these things like serve a purpose of trying to um
Oh yeah, dude.
keep
And
everyone and each other inspired to do this stuff.
and,
Mhm.
and I think and I think it also has a flip side in a way of like a member, like let's say he didn't want to go to the prayer today, and then like let's say he goes to a Costco or a store or somewhere, and then he gets pulled over. Oh, well, this happened to me because I was disobedient to the apostle, and then they get traumatized. I remember one time, bro, I was taking out the
Mhm.
trash. I think I told you before. I was
Yeah.
taking out the trash, and I remember saying the F word in my head, and as I threw the trash, it got caught on my finger or something, and then it freaking like it almost like snapped it, dude. It hurt so bad, and it got all fat and swollen. And
Yeah.
then in my head, I was like, "This is what happens to me because now someone watches everything, and he knew that I was cussing in my head, so therefore I got punished because um, I don't know. It was so dumb.
Mhm.
But in my head, bro, I'm like, I'm over here like believing this full blown, and like
Yeah.
I don't know. I think a lot of members are I don't know now. I mean, I don't know. I a lot of members live that kind of way or that life in church.
Mhm.
Um,
It's also another thing I want to add, and I've thought about this too, and I've probably talked about it a little bit on this channel, but the it could be, the things that the people are given to continue to believe, to be more firm in them, can come through, like for example, like time with family or at the church. And then sometimes, if it's not a miracle story, maybe it's some sort of story about warning you, then it can happen through that way, all to, like, to have the road lead to trying to believe in the church more. But then on the other flip side, like like you said, there's bad things that happen in the world, and that can be utilized to keep members more scared, or about impending doom, or impending more change in the world. Like for example, like the pandemic, like when that happened, of course none of us could have foreseen that in the summer of 2019. And like the earliest stories and whatever else events going on with the pandemic started
right,
in like November in China. And all of our heads are in another place. And so when the pandemic rolls along, like that's something that no one could have foreseen. And to some extent, it's the leaders, the higher ups within the church, the people who want to pull those strings and tug on people's emotions and fear. They can utilize such a thing as that, and frame it to their story about the apostle, where like I've said before, it was really like it really resonated with me in a bad way when I started reading people say that because because humanity had arrested the leader, that now God was going to arrest humanity through quarantine, through fear of the virus, and shutting down society and all that stuff. um, or like another thing, like the recent war in Israel, between Israel and the Palestinian people. There's I want to read more. I want to know more. I want to hear sermons about how the church ministers are talking about this. I haven't looked for it. I'll be honest, I haven't looked for it, but from my understanding, the church members are through the church members, like through the theology, are supposed to be like on the side of the Israelis, on the side of Jewish people, and right? Do you understand it that way? And so I bring that up
Um,
because I'm not saying that the church is using that to scare people, but it's something that's major that's going on in the world, and that even that has to be talked about in the church somehow. And so
I
um
know they make like big
mhm,
noise when they have like a member, supposedly members from Israel, when really it's Mexican people, but they just live over there, right? Or about
mhm,
that Indian, some this guy from India, Carlos Montemayor, was like bragging about him when he got him to come to the provincia. But then after that, the actual Indian member, and the Indian brother, or he or ex LDM, he actually been on what's that dude's channel, Mopar,
yeah, yeah, I know who you're
oh,
talking about. I don't
he's been
remember the
on his
guy's
channel
name, but
and talked,
I've heard.
and he left.
Mhm,
Yeah, he left and talked down on basically what we're saying, like how weird it is and how it's a cult and how bad La Luz del Mundo is. Like it's but they won't put that on. They won't show the members that leave. They just
mhm.
um another thing I wanted to talk about is what was it? Damn, dude, I forgot. Um going back to like these testimonies. I remember the other day, dude. I was on YouTube and this video came out, and it's something someone from the Joaquin family, bro. It's like an older video.
Mhm.
I want to say he is man either Benjamin. No, it's not Benjamin's son. I want to say is um I don't know. I have to look
Repito
him
su
up. But I
nombre,
was
Adlai, Uziel.
he looks like Atlai. He looks like Atlai a whole lot. I want to say it's him. I know it's not him, but I'll send you a link. But
Okay.
he's there giving a testimony, and it's like a 30-minute testimony, bro, that someone told him. So now he was saying it to the church, but obviously there's no name. He just said an hermano, and the testimony was in so high detail, like 20 to 25, 30-minute testimony. And I'm thinking in my head, like, how does a member know something that happened years ago in such high detail to tell it to you, and then you remember it to the perfect touch, bro? And now you got to tell it to the members. And you should have seen this testimony. The whole thing was about a member
Mhm,
somewhere who went through like wars, and he was in some country. He got captured, and then he he got like released or something uh from because so he started like he heard the word of God and where he was a prisoner, so he ended up getting released. And then when he got released, some kind of little miracle happened within where he was incarcerated, and though he was able to get
mhm.
out.
I've never heard this one.
And
Yeah.
then he looks for the church, so he finds it. And then he tells the ministers there in his country that, hey, I want to call my family, and I want to. Then my family's back in I think in Mexico. I want to tell them, talk to them to come to the church. So then he's calling his family, and then the family are saying, "Hey, we've been trying to get a hold of you for the longest time because we want to invite you to our church." So the moral of the story was they were both already members from La Luz del Mundo, and they were trying to get a hold of each other to
Mhm,
invite each other to the church. But little did they know, the whole surprise, the whole story was that they were already both members, and then the
mhm.
dude, the Joaquin dude, was like, people of God are already chosen to be from his people and blah blah blah, because they were like already members without them
That's
inviting.
crazy.
It was just
I've
so,
never
I
heard
mean,
this
it
one.
sounds cool, but it was just ridiculous, bro. He didn't give no names, nobody, nothing, bro.
Mhm.
It was just like a movie,
Yeah.
like a story. and
It's
and
not like
that's what I
members
want
can.
members
Mhm. Go on.
I want members to pay attention to that. They need to understand. Go back on YouTube, because they'll play a sad song, a little, get them going, but they don't give you guys like, who are these people? Who are these people in their testimonials, bro? Like nobody knows them. They're all made up. They're all
Mhm,
made up, and they need to pay attention to when they're saying especially the Joaquins, when they give the testimonies, you need to pay
Mhm,
attention. Really, all these details that they give you guys, all this, it's a crazy testimony, bro, and it sounds nice, but really, really,
mhm. Yeah,
like
I
you
know what
said,
you
no
mean.
eyewitness, no nothing. Like, who's the name? No, like who? It's literally made up, dude.
Mhm. I know what you mean. Here's the question that I was forming in my head. Is it possible to say that a lot of the miracles that do get, told and whatever else are sometimes maybe you can capture them in a big net, and that being like, oh, they're about like a health problem, or they're about like almost getting in a car crash, or maybe um something else that's like suburban and boring and like vanilla, like that kind of genre. But yours, the one that you told me about, someone going to fucking war and all this other, traveling and itinerary going on. That's unique. I've never heard that before, but
You gotta hear it. I'm
there's
gonna send you the link, dude. It's crazy, and I'm
I want
like,
to see
dude,
that.
there's
That
no
that's
way.
interesting. And that's the interesting part is I'm someone as who's trying to write and think, try to get a lot on my radar is that's I mean, they got caught on camera at least saying this. I don't know what that's worth, piecing it together with everything else, but it's so interesting that stuff like that happens. Another
Here,
thing I want to say is that sometimes I hear testimonies about like actual demons supposedly being inside of churches, and then like someone saw maybe the door guy or the guard of like the church will lets the apostle
I've
in to
seen,
go like take out the devil or something like that. From
I heard that
I've
one
heard
too.
those and I've heard these other ones, but I've never heard the war one like you told me.
Here's one thing I'm gonna say
Yeah,
about
what were
this
you
whole
gonna say?
testimonies. Just for the members who are watching this video, just think about how the only good testimony, all these testimonies are only told by ministers high up. You never hear a member, a regular member in your local little church give a testimony like that. No, it doesn't happen to us. It only happens to someone who the pastor knew or heard. But it's
Mhm.
like, but the members don't know any who these people are. It just happened in some country. It happened to someone, but it's being told only by a pastor. It's never told by, nothing really. The only thing that happens to us little members is like, oh yeah, something that normal, like finding $1, or my toothache was hurting and now it's gone, or something very simple. But the big testimonies, those crazy stories in high detail, right? All these, the ones that are like that, the one I just mentioned, those
Yeah.
are only told by pastors. Why? Because they're not true, dude. I don't believe they're real, bro. There's no way. There's no way.
Yeah,
There's no way.
another thing I want to say is that like you're saying, there's these grand stories that can be given, and they come, they it could be the case that a lot of these are coming from the higher ups, and that they're just kind of bullshitting to give stories to everybody. Another thing that I want to talk about is that sometimes there's big stories like that, but that don't happen to one specific member, or don't happen to like one specific family, but it happens to like a whole country or countries. Like for example, like hurricanes that come across that
I
hit
was
places.
I
Those
was
things
just
are kind
about
of
to say that.
those things are kind of taken advantage of by the church members to say that Nason or the church sent supplies and stuff to this place, or Nason prayed really hard and he the hurricane went this way instead of that way. um and there's stuff like that, and I count that like amongst the other major, like the other examples that I was given, like the war in Palestine, or the pandemic. Like when that stuff kind of happens, that the
Yeah.
details are twisted to fit the church.
Oh yeah, 100%. I know what you're talking about. They did that with the hurricane in Mexico. Um, I forgot the name of the hurricane. I was just talking about this the other
was it,
day
was
with
it a recent hurricane this year, or like
no, it was
years
a it
ago?
was a while ago. It was when he was first, like, I think when he first took the throne. There was this hurricane coming, bro, and it was like a really bad one. And they even say how it so after once it started hitting like the it hit like a forest or something. I don't know what it hit, but it like it just calmed down. And I
Mhm.
saw him went up there, and he took all the credit, bro. It was just embarrassing. It's on YouTube. It's ridiculous. Um, he
I
took
have
the
some
credit.
videos where I talk about where I just translate, footage from stuff, and I should probably make more. And if I have it, if I can find that and see it and put in the time to translate it, it'd be funny to
Yeah.
upload it. Because there's like 3-4 videos where I would just show a bunch of clips of like Nathan saying he could, not Nathan himself, but people saying, oh, he can teleport, or like um yeah, doing funky stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or him saying
I
he
think
could
I
raise
have
people
like,
from the dead. That was another one.
yeah. Do you have another topic you want to touch on? Like something like, like maybe like the recent arrest or the
Um,
dude's case. I have like 20 more minutes to complete my
okay, for
wife.
sure. I wanted to say that yeah, I'm glad to talk about this stuff. There's some recent videos that I put up, and there were some things that came to my mind after the fact. So I'll mention them here. Like in the last video I did, I was sort of talking generally about how the church says that the system is corrupt, and like how I wonder they
Oh yeah.
actually think about that in, a number of directions. Like for example, one thing I didn't say in that video was how the church got a loan from the government during the pandemic, like after the pandemic started, and so it's months after Nason was arrested, and he's still being like they're still figuring his bail out. But yeah, I don't know when exactly in 2020, but for sure within a year of the pandemic starting and the shutdown going on, they got a loan from the government, and like, well, what the fuck, is the system not corrupt there? Because they gave y'all money, they arrested your leader on one hand, but then like another part of the government is giving you money. So I thought that was interesting to think about. um another thing I wanted to say was that um um uh I was gonna say that, yeah, before moving on to like the arrest of other things, there's another point I thought of that I didn't mention in that video was how the system, the ex-LLDM people also think that, yeah, actually the system is corrupt, but not in the ways that y'all think, that the church members think, but in other ways. Like for example, the fact that CBI Orozco can be hurt, and and then within Mexico, like nothing has happened with that case, and it sort of it happened within the realm of the church, and it may be connected to church matters, but some far stuff like that didn't happen. Or for example, the Nason should have been arrested like way earlier, or another fact is like the FBI was investigating Samuel Joaquin back in the 90s because of his ranch in Texas, or something related like that. Isaias Alvarado wrote about this a couple months ago,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like, well, nothing happened there, and so the system is corrupt, but it's not in the ways that the church members are talking about. Those are just two things that I had left over from my previous video.
Yeah. I think
Mhm.
another, and this is huge, but um members need to start, if they haven't yet, they need to do you study like the law, and it's not hard to do. Like at least study or go learn how a court goes, as far as like how Nason's court, the proceedings, and how everything works out. Bail, um, you know, they need to learn how it works. That way
Mhm.
they understand how his case went about. Other than that, they're gonna be fed all this stuff from the members, from the pastors, and
Mhm.
they're gonna think that the system is corrupt. They're gonna think that they purposely,
Planted
they
evidence, and
yeah, dude, and it's ridiculous. Like at this point, and if that doesn't, just think about it. Silem Garcia, all their lawyers, none of them want to talk about it. None of them go on TV, or on Univision or Telemundo or with Cesar Alvarado, right?
they,
He's
they
been,
used to back in the day, and like it
yeah,
changes, you can't really
exactly.
find them, catch them talking.
And yeah, and how the case started unrolling and getting very heavy with real evidence, and they can't go on TV no more, because Sayas Alvarado is gonna pull up transcripts, pull up like information, and they're not gonna be able to answer it, and they don't want to be seen by members on TV or on interviews being exposed,
Mhm.
but so I
That's
mean
why right now,
it's
when the Santa Cenas are happening, the stuff they're sharing right now is is just like pictures of the convention center full of people, and like just pictures of rooms full of people supposedly. But you know, that stuff's not impressive, and like none of that really matters to the ex LLDM. Like that doesn't phase us. You know, that's material for the members. But then you know what ex LLDM people want is Silem Garcia like talking. Like, is this guy the fucking spokesperson again? Apparently, because there's a time where he was not, but then I guess he just is, because he keeps tweeting a lot, and not just tweeting, but you know, other people are communicating, and we don't have them talking to the documentary filmmakers at like them, or like to Millennial or to Univision, stuff like that. And yeah, like you said, members got to learn the trial. Can I tell you something about Karen Reed and Alan Jackson? Can I tell you
No, go
something
ahead.
about this?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So where I live, there is this case for this woman called Karen Reed. And just to tell you very quickly, basically her partner was a cop, and um there was a gathering between her and then like the cop boyfriend, and then like some other people, some other police at like a local bar. And then they go to like across the street to another bar. And then there's like an after party held at someone's house like a couple miles away. And then some people start to trickle in over there. And then anyways, the Karen and then her boyfriend go, you know, the idea is that they go over there, and then he, so you know, later on, like wee hours of the morning, he's found dead in the snow. There was a whole bunch of snow that whole night, a whole bunch of snow. And so basically the trial that happened a month or two ago, and it lasted like over a month. Alan Jackson was in charge of defending her. And basically, you know, he was just saying that like, no, he died because of just a whole bunch of other reasons, anything but her. And um and let me tell you that I found out about I first heard about this thing a year ago, and then the trial actually happened. What ended up happening is he ended up successfully, him and the other team, you know, ended up successfully defending her. Only in that the jury came out, they were bricked up, like they couldn't decide one way or another, so they're going to try to go for Karen Reed again. I don't know if Alan Jackson is involved, but you know, in this case he did like a good job. And I bring it up to you and I describe it because, like, you know, this wasn't a case of like child material that was used, or that it was just more like, hey, did she kill her boyfriend outside, you know, that house, and then she didn't go to the party and she went home? Or did the boyfriend get attacked by a dog? Or like, did he had a fight in the house and then they just left him outside and made it framed her? Do you know what I mean? Like, that was how the
Yeah.
story was. And I bring that up because I had heard Alan Jackson was involved like a year ago, and I was like, oh, fuck this lady. Yeah, you know, I don't like this at all. But to be honest, like over time, as I watched the trial and other things like that, I was leaning more on their side, or at least I was not leaning on their side per se, but I was saying that like what the outcome could, and I would say should be like in their favor. But yeah, she's not out of the woods yet, but it was interesting to see Jackson like defending, like for sure hardcore, his client, in the way that, you know, he should be within his position as his job. But it's just funny because everybody around here who was supporting her, a lot of people were supporting her, and you know, trying to have her back, and like, you know, demonstrate and just look, you know, support. They know that Alan Jackson was involved in all this other crazy shit. I don't know about La Luz del Mundo. I've never heard them and anyone say anything about La Luz del Mundo, but they know about him being involved with like Harvey Weinstein or Kevin Spacey, etc. But still, people were like on her side because the lawyer was good. And in the case of like Nason, for me, I bring this whole thing up because like, we didn't get to see that, or we did, but only up to the point of the plea deal, because like because even in Nason's case, Alan Jackson was just like, I literally can't fucking do anymore. Like, this is just the best that I can do. You know, he's one of
Right.
the best ones in the country, and you know, for these sorts of things. And he was, and you know, him in the Nason case was like, I'm not here to help you for free so I can, you know, get a little more famous and shit. You're literally gonna fucking pay me, and holy shit, you fucked up this much that I could only do this much for you. I could only prolong it, you know, so long and stuff. Yeah, do you know what I mean here?
Yeah. I mean, he's only doing his job. You know, he's only doing his job, and in the court system that he knows. You know, he knows all the loops and outs of court. So
Hmm.
yeah. at some point I didn't like this dude, and I mean, I guess it's just he has to make a living, but um yeah, members should really you know it's just very like, man, like how you said, like the government, like the members, it's funny how like the leaders move the members like a wave. Or right now we're not gonna like the government, but now we do, and now we don't, and now we do.
Hmm.
And it's all and all these waves are just on how they are treated by the government. You know what I mean? Like when a song was out, when a song was visited by, I remember they put the street named after Nason, right? And like, oh, they were all on. They were all like it was all like hearts
What was the
and stuff.
street in the U.S.? I think
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's happening in like the U.S.
And it's like, they need to look at the whole picture. It ain't just because, oh, they're only all they quickly forget about all the good stuff that, remember when someone was on tour, he was visited, he would visit like cities, and then the people of the mayors or people within the city that had like special or some kind of like
Hmm.
some kind of rank within the community or the city. They would visit the his tours, and they would like congratulate him and listen to him,
Yeah.
and they would put all those pictures in their websites because it was just a way for them to make noise or look good in front of the public eye.
And they still have
But
that stuff on their website, man. Like in me researching lately, like there's actually still a bunch of Berea pages that are up there. I hope they don't go away, anytime soon. But uh they'll track like, oh yeah, this is the first leg of his tour, and here's like another leg of his tour.
yeah,
This person, this
yeah.
other person.
So,
Mhm.
so my point is, you can't just because now he's in court facing all this stuff, can't just now say like the government's after him. Like, you got to be I guess, you got to be fair across the board. You got to think, learn the court system, learn how the case went, and really do they need to do these things, or else they're gonna always be controlled by the
Mhm.
pastors and treating them like, you know
Mhm.
just being fed with what they want to hear, and
Yeah.
it's just, what I mean.
Another
Yeah,
thing I want to say is that one other point that I see most often is how like um for like the other day Jimmy was talking about Gerardo Ortiz, supposedly Jimmy or whatever, whoever this person is. But the other day, literally, it was like Santa Cena hours. It was a Santa Cena day. And he's just like running a live stream. I tuned in very quickly and he's talking about how Isaias Alvarado said such and such about narco traffickers and whatever else and the church. And then he's like, man, he needs to go talk about the Catholics and their abuse and these people and these people. And here's pictures of Isaias next to a priest or something. Like I'm not interested in that shit because like whatever that for sure the system overall is corrupt and there's religious figures over there that haven't gotten in trouble or didn't get in trouble but in the past but
yeah,
but still the government's like after these people to some extent and the LLDM people just say this just to like talk just to say what about over there, just to point over there and not to point as like very clear problems within their system of beliefs.
yeah. I think, I
Mm.
think this happens because the members are just um always just been very uneducated, and I don't mean that in a bad, in a disrespectful way, but you know, you got to remember a lot of these members, like, are members that don't really know how the whole court system works. They're really, members who are might immigrated to this country, and it's just not,
Mm.
they're just not very up to date with like, for example, my parents, they don't know how to go on the website and just look up the whole case and understand how the codes, and how everything worked out with my son. Like, they don't know that, bro. And a lot of members are like that. A lot. Not only that, but even if they did know, they're not allowed to do any kind of research. They're not
Mm.
allowed to, you know, um, find out for themselves.
Yeah.
So,
I was gonna say
but
also that like you said, the church has its lawyers and those people could have been in Jackson's place, but they weren't. And right now, I don't know where exactly, but there's a person in California called Giovanni Chacon. That name could be wrong, but that person
yeah,
is the person who's listed as Nason's Defense Council online. I think, and I bring that up because it could be, well, one day it could be Alan Jackson's name, pops up back on there for some reason, but that guy, we've never heard that guy. I've never heard that guy, writing his name or signing any papers to submit to a court or nothing like that, or even at the press conferences. But not all lawyers are built the same, and I guess just that guy can't do it. And in the future, I really don't. I wonder if it'll be a church member that does that.
Yeah, it's
Mhm. Another thing I want to talk about is that the last major documentary that came out on the church was basically a year ago. It was in like late September when Netflix came out with their documentary, and I haven't re-seen it since then, but I did see it when it came out, and um I really don't know if another one has come out in the year since then, but I'm really interested in it because there could be more in another direction, but I wonder if it'll happen soon or if they're waiting for like the federal case to be over. But well, one other thing I want to say is that not that Netflix documentary um was nominated for an award in Mexico for the Ariel Award. I think that's what it's called, and it's basically like the Oscars equivalent to the US. And
really.
yeah, and so I just think it's funny. It just continues to be funny that Netflix might win this award for that, and the other movies in those categories are documentaries too. I think it's like a documentary category, and the other movies there seem interesting, but if the Netflix movie does win, then that could bring a little more attention to the church and stuff, but then Isaias Alvarado is being like nominated for awards and for his reporting, and has won awards for his reporting, and um, I just think it's funny that this stuff continues to happen, and but I'm not satisfied with it. I want more. I want some more like hard hitting um,
Yeah,
event to happen.
I'm waiting for federal, bro. I think in this whole federal thing, something big's coming. I think it's just marinating, bro. Something's gonna go down. I believe so, because we know that it's in effect, right? It's just
Mhm.
taking a while, but I
Mhm.
don't think they're not just doing nothing. I think they want
They're
to.
only trying to get him on like two counts or like one count, but the cap on that, on the roof on that is like 40 years maybe. And so I know what you mean when you say that like something major could happen, but
I think a
um
lot of pastors are going to be involved, and somehow they're going to screw him over or screw each other over. It's just going to be a big thing. I hope it is, because this is going to be huge for. I feel like that's going to be a big eye opener for a lot of members when they see for them to see like a pastor that they looked up to for so long testifying against Mason or doing something like that. I think that's what's really going to like get them like, wait, the guy who told us that we should like defend the election at all costs. Now he's over here talking bad about us on and saying all this stuff about him that.
yeah,
So
they got to do more. They got to do more. I don't um uh,
that's the
another
only
like
thing.
like like a higher up member in the church or like a leader testifying or being forced to testify. I don't know if I never really pictured that happening, but if it did,
I
it would
I
help.
think the only way is if they're involved in a way where they look in that time. I think that'll be the only way. Like working a deal. If they're looking at serious time, I think even like a couple years, I think pastors will break because you got to remember these guys have lived a life of luxury as well with Nason. Maybe not at the standards of Nason, but they're having for the very least they don't work. For them to now go to prison, looking at like let's just say any amount of years, even 1 year, 2 years, but I think they'll fold for sure to get a deal. Snitch out Nason. But
Mhm.
we'll see, man. That's something that I'm hoping for. I think that would be a very huge documentary, interesting, right? Not to see a documentary on the insides of how this thing works. You know, that would be crucial. That would be, bro. Imagine, I'd be, I'll call in to work. I'll buy popcorn. I'm there.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's all I have. I don't really have Anything else to say? But yeah, just to, I'll go ahead and start wrapping up. Thank you everybody for tuning in. You of course should want to interact with this in all the free and helpful ways, like for example, liking, commenting, saying a question. I can, Julian, if it's okay, I'll put your email in the description. I'll put mine too, and people can reach out
Yeah.
if they got questions or something like this. But yeah, thank you for talking with me about this, about these different parts of the church. I'm gonna stay thinking about this, and we'll see what other video topics I can try to muster up and put out for the channel. And yeah, do you have anything to say in closing?
Yeah, I want to say this Monday coming up, I'll be available. Well, I'm telling you, if you want to make another video, I want to think about something something else. I want to talk about something I don't know, we'll see, but something just maybe more up to date, or something that can I don't know, like a
Yeah,
call
good,
to
good.
members who've gone out to see where they're at, what they're doing, just
Hmm.
something like that, something that's helped you moved on, or something like about us that we do now, and like a little reflection on I don't know, just
Hmm.
something different.
Yeah,
But we'll see. We'll see what comes into your mind. Maybe
yeah.
you
There,
have
there were
stuff
some
already.
more up to date things that we could have talked about, like for example, the ranch in California that you mentioned, and that guy getting busted and being convicted recently.
Yeah,
Coronado. I can't really remember his name exactly, and I'm not. I'm not interested in really picking on them, but it's part of the story. It's part of the whole story of what's going on with the church. So
yeah, for sure.
I guess we'll say bye to everybody, and then I'll stop the recording. So yeah, bye everyone. Thank you for listening.
All right, guys. Next time.